Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Real Time, where we talk about the movies we like.
And the ones we don't.
I'm Tyler,
And I'm Molly.
and on this Independence Day, if we get this video uploaded on July 4th, we are going to be going into the Captain America movies from the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Because what superhero is more American than Captain America?
Soldier Boy, but he doesn't have his own movies yet.
Alright. Okay.
Anyways, Captain America has seen a wide net of cinematic adventures, starting back from the 1940s serials to some lesser received movies in the 70s to another one that was released in the 90s, but we're not here for those. We're going to talk about his more modern incarnation, played by Chris Evans.
Yep. The one that everyone seems to recognize him as. Does that make sense? I don't know.
Sure.
My words aren't flowing very well.
It's okay. You're still pretty.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah.
Okay. So, I had something, but I just forgot about it.
See, both our brains aren't working today.
I guess it happens like that.
Hey, at least I have an excuse. Pregnancy brain.
Yeah, I guess that's a thing.
It is a thing.
Anyways, so Captain America was the, let's see if I can count, fourth movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe after Iron Man, The Incredible Hulk, Iron Man 2, and Thor. Fifth. I can't count.
He can't count. Oh, boy.
Oh, jeez. Just take me out back and spank me, I guess.
I won't get into that.
Anyways, in this movie stars, of course, Chris Evans as Captain America, Steve Rogers himself. And when his casting was announced, there was a small, minority on the internet who was a bit upset about this, considering Chris Evans had previously played Johnny Storm, the Human Torch, in Fox's Fantastic Four movies.
Oh, I could see, because that's part of the Marvel universe too, isn't it?
A different Marvel universe.
Oh, I don't really.
People just couldn't wrap their heads around this guy playing two different Marvel characters.
Yeah. That's, yeah.
But these days, he's more better known for his role as Captain America as opposed to his role as Johnny Storm. We were going to cover the Fantastic Four movies this year, but I figured with the new version coming out next year, we'll push it back to next year.
What's coming out next year?
New Fantastic Four movie.
Oh, yeah. I remember hearing about that.
Now, there's also a new Captain America movie coming out next year, but I also pushed those movies off till next year because they're all kind of crap.
Okay. Sure.
Nowadays, if some actor just happens to be playing two different Marvel characters, not a whole lot of people seem to mind. We saw this when Josh Brolin went from being Thanos to being in the MCU to being Cable in the X-Men universe.
Yeah. I guess that's still the Marvel universe.
Again, a Marvel universe.
So they're like different, I guess.
Yeah. Here's the basics for anyone who's still confused. We have the Marvel Cinematic Universe that was made by Disney. Which is pretty much everything that Disney has released. Then we have the Fox X-Men universe, which the continuity and canonity of all of this is a bit up in the air, kind of nebulous. But that's a whole separate thing from this. Now, from the looks of Deadpool and Wolverine, Deadpool is going to be, getting into the MCU in some way or another.
Okay, yeah.
And then you have Sony's messy web of Spider-Man movies, where we have the Raimi trilogy, we have the Web duology, we have whatever the hell they're doing with Venom, Morbius, Madam Web, and all that nonsense. And then you have the Spider-Verse movies, which aren't really connected to any of those, except via multiversal jumps, which, look, let's just get back to Captain America. This whole thing is confusing.
Yeah, I mean, I can see what you mean, though. Yes, they are different universes. That makes sense.
This movie also features Haley Atwell as Peggy Carter, Cap's love interest in this movie. In the comics, Peggy Carter wasn't as an important character as she is in the movies, but Haley Atwell's presence and performance, I guess, elevated her character to the need for such attention, which is great. I love Peggy. We all do. It was nice to see her get her own spin-off TV show and her own role as an alternate version of Peggy, who became Captain Britain, I guess, on the Disney Plus show What If, which also led to her getting a cameo in Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah. So in the comics, did Captain America have a romantic interest?
Yes. After he wakes up from the ice, he has a thing with a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent named Sharon Carter. In the movies, she is Peggy's niece. I'm not sure of their relationship in the comics, but it doesn't matter, I guess.
They do have the same last name.
Yeah, they do.
All right. I'm just curious.
Sebastian Stan plays James Buchanan, Bucky Barnes. In the movies, Bucky is Cap's childhood friend. He's basically Cap's protector. He's his big brother figure. In the comics, it's the complete opposite. Steve didn't meet Bucky until after Steve became Captain America. Bucky actually caught him changing into his Captain America costume, so he found out that Cap and Steve were the same person. Same person.
Yeah, same person.
So he became Cap's sidekick, Bucky. In the comics, he was an orphan who was just raised by the base he was living on, basically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So quite a bit different from the movie.
Yeah. They were, just childhood friends in the movie?
Yeah.
Seemed? Okay.
Tommy Lee Jones plays Colonel Chester Phillips, the commander of the division that would later become S.H.I.E.L.D. in the future of the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
He's the curmudgeonly, gruff, commanding officer that only Tommy Lee Jones could play as well as he does.
Yeah, those tough, silent types, Yeah.
Hugo Weaving plays Johann Schmidt, or the Red Skull, the premier Nazi of Hitler's Third Reich.
They call him the Red Skull because he has a red head.
He does. He does indeed.
Isn't that crazy?
Dominic Cooper plays Howard Stark, the father of future Avengers leader Tony Stark.
Yep.
Stanley Tucci plays Dr. Abraham Erskine, the man who creates Captain America with his super soldier serum.
Uh-huh. Yeah. The little guy, right?
No.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about now.
The good German.
Yeah, the good one, yeah.
Toby Jones plays Dr. Arnim Zola, the Red Skull's right-hand man who basically builds all his toys.
Yeah, that's the guy I was thinking of. Okay.
Neil McDonough, Derek Luke, Kenneth Choi, J.J. Field, and Bruno Ricci play the members of Cap's Howling Commandos, a group that Cap has in the comics who he fights the war with.
Oh, nice.
Also in the comics, there was a version of Nick Fury that we don't see in the MCU at all. This was the original white Nick Fury, the one that David Hasselhoff previously played in the movies in the 90s. And like I said, this version of Fury was alongside Cap in the comics, and he later on gets a super soldier serum of his own, and he eventually lives into the modern day Marvel universe. And his son is the version of Nick Fury that is played by Samuel L. Jackson in the comics. His son is the Black Nick Fury.
Okay, yeah, that's just a little confusing.
Speaking of Nick Fury, Samuel L. Jackson plays him in a cameo in this movie. Now, I'm sure you've heard the story of why Samuel L. Jackson is Nick Fury, right? I'm going to take that as a no.
Yeah, I guess not.
So, when the Ultimate Universe started picking up in Marvel Comics, it's basically an alternate universe where they were doing things a little bit differently than the main timeline.
Okay. This is so confusing, but keep going.
Anyways, so they wanted to do something different with Nick Fury, so they made him black. And I guess they based the drawing of him off of Samuel L. Jackson. Now, Jackson later caught on to that, but he was cool with it as long as he got to play Fury in a movie.
Oh, yeah.
And as of now, Samuel L. Jackson is one of the... he's played Nick Fury more times than most comic book movie actors have played their characters.
Yeah, he's the only Nick Fury I've ever seen.
Yeah, he's probably the Nick Fury that most audiences know.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Now, this movie was directed by Joe Johnson, who I wanted to see what else he had done on his filmography and on IMDb, and he has quite the resume. He did Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, The Rocketeer, a few episodes of Young Indiana Jones, The Pagemaster, the original Jumanji, Jurassic Park 3, which we covered earlier this year, the 2010 version of The Wolfman, which we covered for Halloween last year.
Hey, I watched that movie, Hidalgo, in school.
Oh, yeah. Viggo Mortensen is racing horses in the middle of the desert.
Yeah, I watched that in school.
And it seems that he is in development of a adaptation of the Chronicles of Narnia, The Silver Chair.
Oh, I didn't know they're doing that.
Yeah, me neither. I haven't actually read that book.
I have. That was the last one I read in the Narnia series, I think. Yeah.
Now, fun thing about the character played by J.J. Field, Major Falsworth, in the comics he's known as Union Jack. He's kind of an equivalent to Captain America in a way.
Okay, yeah.
But he never gets to do that in the actual movies and TV shows proper.
No. Yeah, I guess not. Oh, well.
So, Captain America. Now, I'm probably going to title this movie something like Captain America is the best hero in the Marvel Cinematic Universe or something. So, let's try to not make that title clickbait now, shall we?
Yeah, Tyler really likes Captain America. He's got a tattoo of his shield on his leg.
I do.
Yeah. So, you're a little biased.
A little bit, yeah. But, I don't have a but.
Okay. Oh, well, So, what do you want to talk about first?
Well, let's talk about Cap's character for one. Now, the reason why Steve Rogers was chosen by Erskine to become Captain America is because, well, really, Steve Rogers is a good man. He knows the value of strength because he has absolutely none.
Yeah. And you can see him as he goes through, like, all those tests, I guess you could say. He's always proving that he thinks about others. He's a good guy. He really wants to make a difference in the best way possible.
Exactly. And Erskine has seen from his previous experiment with the super soldier serum, Schmidt, that the serum takes what's inside of you and amplifies it. In his own words, good becomes better and bad becomes worse, as we saw with Schmidt, and as we've seen with other recipients of super soldier attempts later on in the MCU. In the Incredible Hulk, for instance, Banner he becomes a Hulk through an experiment of trying to recreate the super soldier serum. I'm guessing by then they still hadn't gotten it right yet, and it turns him into the Hulk.
Yeah. And
then you have another super soldier like the man that Colonel Phillips wanted to use, Gilmore Hodge. In this case, Emil Blonsky, who he uses to go after the Hulk. It turns him into, an abomination.
Yeah. So, that really shows that Steve is really
he was really the only option.
Yeah, he's a pure of heart man.
Now, later on in the MCU, we see that these ill effects don't really take place. Now, I'm assuming that by that point, they've sort of perfected the super soldier serum in universe. So, as we see from the Flag Smashers and John Walker, they don't become monstrosities of any sort. They're just strong people.
Yeah. Very interesting.
Yeah. So, and it's precisely why, again, that what Erskine says to Steve, to not be a good soldier but a good man, because that's what Captain America is. He is the man who will always try to put anyone else above him, as we see at the end of the movie when he kamikazes the bomber into the ocean rather than risk trying to put it down and possibly harm anyone else trying to save his own life. He wouldn't do that.
Yeah, he's just a good guy.
And we even see him in action right after he first gets the serum, he goes after the person who killed his friend and stole the remaining serum that they had. He runs through the city. He's surprised by his own new strength as well. And when this Nazi guy takes this kid hostage and throws him in the ocean, it's kind of nice that the kid just is actually able to swim, so it doesn't keep Steve from finishing the mission.
Yeah, the kid's like, it's okay, I can swim. Go do what you gotta do.
Like, this Nazi jackass finds the one kid in Brooklyn who can swim and throws him in the ocean. Great job, buddy.
Yeah.
You friggin' retard.
Whoa, watch yourself.
Anyways, we also see Cap's absolute determination when this Nazi guy is trying to get away in his mini sub, and Steve just goes in after him anyways. Most people, I think, would have probably rightfully thought, no, I can't do that. He's actually getting away in a vehicle. I'm probably not going to be able to do it. But Steve jumps in and he tries. I think he would have tried even if he didn't have the serum in him.
Yeah, he probably would have tried. Might not have done as good, but he would have tried.
And there's something to be said about this guy's absolute devotion to Hydra. Like, this is just a Nazi research division. They're not really... I mean, I guess they are military in a way, but just the amount of devotion that all of these Hydra guys have to have cyanide capsules in their teeth, to just ready to bite on it at a moment's notice, so they don't betray their dear leader, the Red Skull.
Yeah, kind of crazy.
Yeah, and although they do say later on that Hydra is a cult, so I guess that covers your bases.
Yeah, that is kind of a cultish thing to do.
Now there's some other similarities between Cap and Red Skull, or similarities and differences. I feel like these two are, well, the Red Skull is basically a dark mirror to Cap. Their absolute devotion to push themselves in search of what they need to do, finishing the mission or trying to exploit the secrets of this new discovery that he's found, really highlights the similarities between them, especially since when they both reach 70% of like capacity of whatever power they're attempting to tap into, and other people around them are telling them to stop, they both keep going.
Yeah, they both are. Yeah, they both push themselves, but in opposite directions.
Yeah. So what do you think of this movie?
Oh, it's all right. I'm sorry.
That it?
No, I mean, I'm sure you probably wanted me to say something better, but
Well, I was expecting you to say something, just not just that.
Okay. Well, I mean, it's perfectly fine.
It's just not really your thing?
No, it's not really my thing, but that doesn't mean it's not. I can't recognize that it is a very good and entertaining movie to some.
Yeah, I feel like this is a very underrated movie in the world of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Like, ever since we've gotten all sorts of wild and different things from all the sorts of different corners of this universe, like with the Guardians or the later Avengers movies, or even the later Captain America movies, I feel like this one has fallen by the wayside, and that's unfortunate.
Yeah, it is kind of unfortunate. It doesn't get as much
love
and praise as the more maybe bigger budget ones.
Yeah, but what are you gonna do?
Yeah, I don't know.
Now, there's something that I don't really care for in this movie. I feel like some characters were pretty underutilized, in particular Cap's Howling Commandos. They're entertaining enough characters as is. I certainly don't dislike them, but we don't really get a whole lot of character moments from them. Like, I mean, we see them, we meet them, we like them just fine, but we don't really get to know them.
Yeah, I see what you mean. because even though we do, meet these guys, there's not a lot of time spent on their characterization, and it would be nice, I think, if there was a little more time spent with them.
Now, granted, we get a little bit of possible prejudice from one of them when he sees a Japanese guy amongst them, which, I mean, it does reflect some of the prejudicial attitudes at the time, considering he most likely wasn't expecting to see this Japanese guy with Americans. But considering the time period, this Japanese soldier was most likely part of the 442nd Regiment, one of the most decorated units in all of World War II on the American side.
Oh, you're very knowledgeable.
Well, I am a white man in his late 20s living in America. It's kind of my wheelhouse.
Yeah, okay, all right.
Also, I didn't really care about... Well, not care. I didn't like that we didn't get very many scenes with Cap and Red Skull. Like, this is a classic comic rivalry that we didn't really get a whole lot of.
Okay. Yeah, for me, someone who doesn't read the comics, I wouldn't really think that mattered. But now that you said something, it's like, oh yeah, they don't really spend much time together, do they?
They have 3 scenes together, and they're good scenes, don't get me wrong. I just wanted more of them.
Yeah, I get that.
It'd be like having a Batman movie where he has only a few scenes with the Joker, or an X-Men movie where Professor Xavier and Magneto don't share any screen time. It's kind of an important part of the relationship to, have a relationship.
Yeah, you definitely want some more interactions between the good guy and the bad guy, especially if they're, like opposites of each other, and it's symbolic, Now,
this is a problem that does continue to the next 2 movies in the MCU. The next 2 Captain America movies. I mean, Cap doesn't really get a whole lot of scenes with the Winter Soldier and, well, Captain America the Winter Soldier, and he doesn't get very many with Zemo in Civil War. So, this is an unfortunate thing that continues on.
Yeah, I guess you're right. They just don't like showing Captain America with the enemy, I guess.
Yeah, they use some of his most famous rogues, and he doesn't really spend much time with them. It kind of sucks.
Yeah. Now that you mention it, it's just like, oh, you're right. There's not a lot.
But like I said, the scenes we do get with them are good scenes. I enjoyed them. I just wanted more. And I feel like the overhauling of Cap and Bucky's relationship is... I like it fine enough. I'm not going to say it's perfect, but it works for what they're doing in this movie.
Yeah, I see.
Marvel doesn't really do a whole lot with kid sidekicks. They're not DC with Batman and Robin, Green Arrow and Speedy, and the Teen Titans in general. Kid heroes are... Well, they're treated differently over there. Granted, you have Spider-Man and some of the other younger heroes, such as Kitty Pryde and Jubilee on the X-Men, but they're not... It's different. Just take my word for it.
Yeah, there needs to be more kid superheroes.
Well, the last time they had a group of kid superheroes, it led to a whole bunch of children in a school getting killed in Connecticut, which led to the Civil War event in the comics.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, probably best to avoid that.
All right.
And even with Spider-Man in the comics, he's an adult, so that's really only thing in the movies.
Yeah. All right, fair enough.
All right. So, would you like to know some trivia for this?
I would love to hear some trivia.
Okay. So, a couple of actors in this movie, they took the role just because it was cool.
All right.
Stanley Tucci took the role of Erskine because he never had a role where he had a German accent, and he wanted to do that.
Okay, yeah, I get that, yeah.
On the one hand, Hugo Weaving was all about the money for this role, as he was with the Transformers movies. But he had some fun along the way, too.
Yeah, I would see it would be easy to have a lot of fun with Red Skull.
Yeah, he got to really ham it up and chew the scenery in this role. And,
Yeah.
Just a role like that, you can imagine it'd be really fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would think so.
Now, unfortunately, Hugo Weaving did not return to the role when it came time for Red Skull to return in Avengers Infinity War and Endgame. He was replaced by Ross Marquand, also known for his roles on The Walking Dead and Invincible.
So why didn't Hugo Weaving come back? It's okay if you don't know. I'm just curious.
I'm gonna guess it's a combination of didn't want to and scheduling conflicts.
Okay, yeah, I can see that.
Now we actually met Ross Marquand at a con in our town last year, and I got him to sign my Avengers Infinity War Blu-ray.
Yeah, I remember that. I didn't know who that was, but yeah. All right.
Yeah, he was a really chill dude who was just vibing, man.
Yeah. Fun times.
So, a lot of people thought that Chris Evans all bulked up was a CGI, and him as a scrawny little scrub was the real one. No, reverse it.
No, and you could tell if you pay attention to scrawny Steve. There, yeah, you could tell. It's just like something's not quite right.
Yeah, it's not a perfect effect, but it looks good enough.
It's passable for sure. Yep.
And funny thing about that, my sister Kate and I met Haley Atwell at another con back in 2015, I think, and she asked him how they did that, and she said, yeah, it was done with CGI, and I was just thinking, Kate, you could have asked me that. I knew this.
Yeah. Does not surprise me that you knew everything, because you're a little nerdy.
A little.
A lot.
Okay. I actually found why Weaving didn't come back for Infinity War and Endgame. It was due to money.
Oh yeah. They weren't giving him enough, I guess.
Well, he would have only been in like one scene each, so yeah. They're probably not going to give him much money for that.
Probably not, but I think it'd be an easy job, easy money. Oh well. I'm not Hugo Weaving. So.
Now, granted, Ross Marquand did a good enough job to where people were surprised that it wasn't Hugo Weaving.
Yeah.
When I first saw Infinity War, I was thinking, oh, cool, they got Hugo Weaving back. And then find out later, that's not him? This guy does great voices.
Yeah, for sure.
Especially since he plays multiple characters on Invincible. He's the human version of Robot. He's the Immortal. He's some others, I'm sure. And he has some good range.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds like some good voice acting.
Now, some other actors were considered for multiple roles, okay? The very first choice was John Krasinski, actually.
Oh, interesting.
He actually screen tested in the Captain America suit, but after he saw Chris Hemsworth walk by in his, beefcake, muscular, Chad Thor body, he said, I am not Captain America.
Yeah.
Krasinski would later play a variant of Reed Richards in Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness. Mm-hmm. So he got to dip his toes in the MCU.
Yeah, a little toe dipping.
But he's unfortunately not coming back as Reed Richards in the next Fantastic Four movie, as this version will be played by Pedro Pascal.
Okay.
Other actors considered for the role, and there's quite a few.
Mm-hmm. List them off.
Garrett Hedlund.
Who dat?
Exactly. Channing Tatum.
Okay.
Scott Porter.
Uh-huh.
Mike Vogel.
Yeah.
Chase Crawford, the Deep on The Boys.
Okay.
Michael Cassidy.
Mm-hmm.
Johnny Picard.
Yeah.
Patrick Fluger.
Uh-huh.
Derek Thieler.
Sure.
Wilson Bethel, who would later play Bullseye on Netflix's Daredevil.
Uh-huh.
And Chad Michael Murray were also considered.
I don't recognize a lot of names. Hey, I heard, I don't know if this is true or not, that Jensen Ackles was considered for Captain America. Is that true?
Well, let me fact check real quick. Oh, Apparently, he did not audition.
Jensen Ackles?
Correct.
Okay. I mean, sure, I think he would make a good Captain America, but oh well.
It's okay. He got to play Soldier Boy on The Boys.
Yeah.
He says that... Okay, so this was a rumor that I was about to say that Jensen Ackles was considered, but he clarifies that he never got the opportunity to talk to anyone about it because of his schedule with Supernatural, I'm assuming.
I assume so.
Ryan Felipe, Scott Eastwood, Ethan Peck, Kellen Lutz, Glenn Powell, Hangman from Top Gun Maverick, Ryan McPartlin, Alexander Skarsgård, Sebastian Stan, Chris Pratt, Zachary Levi, and Wyatt Russell all screen tested for the role as well, which is funny because a few of those people would end up playing other characters in the MCU. Sebastian Stan, of course, played Bucky. Chris Pratt went on to be Star-Lord. Zachary Levi would play Fandral, who no one remembers in the Thor movie. And Wyatt Russell would play John Walker, the next Captain America on Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of names on there that I don't recognize, but that's okay.
Emily Blunt was initially offered the role of Peggy Carter before Haley Atwell was cast. Mm-hmm. Blunt previously was supposed to play Black Widow in Iron Man 2, but contractual obligations forced her to be in the Jack Black Gulliver Travels movies instead of this.
Oh.
Yeah. Bad luck.
Yeah.
Alice Eve, Gemma Arterton, Rosamund Pike, and Keira Knightley were also considered for the role. Alice Eve would later appear on Netflix's Iron Fist, which nobody cared about.
I've never even heard of it. So.
Don't worry.
All right.
Jeff Goldblum was approached for a cameo as the senator who gets Steve involved with the USO, but it didn't work out. But Goldblum would eventually play the Grand Master in Thor Ragnarok and on What If.
Okay, yeah. So he got to be in a Marvel movie, you know.
Chris Evans actually turned down the role to play Captain America a few times because he was afraid of what the increased fame would be on his personal life.
Yeah.
It took Robert Downey Jr. to convince him to take the role and gain the freedom to do any other role he would want after this, you know, with the financial security that being in the Marvel movies would grant him.
Yeah, because then he could turn down roles he don't want without having to worry about money.
Yeah, same reason why Daniel Radcliffe can do basically any role he has because he has Harry Potter money.
Yeah. I wish I had big name movie money like that.
Yeah, oh well. Wolverine and Magneto were planned to have lawyer-friendly cameos in this movie, the former as a soldier working with Cap and the latter as a prisoner in an internment camp, but they couldn't happen due to copyright issues. See, at the time, Fox owned the rights to the X-Men, Fantastic Four, all of these different characters that Disney couldn't use. So a fun little cameo like that couldn't happen. Now, however, since Disney owns Fox and will own the rest of the world in due time, they can do whatever they want.
Yeah. All right.
So, do you have anything more to say on the first Captain America movie?
You know, it's a perfectly good superhero movie. And I think it's a lot of people have seen it, you know, is what I'm trying to say. So, but yeah, I mean, if you haven't, I'd recommend it.
Yeah. Before I give my final notes on this movie, I'd like to point out something. In the USO montage that Cap is doing, where he's selling war bonds, we see a woman say hi to him. She's played by Laura Haddock, who would later play Peter Quill's mom in the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. Now, this hasn't actually been officially confirmed by anyone except for James Gunn, that this woman is actually Peter Quill's grandma.
Yeah. Which
I'm going to take his word for it, because it's just fun.
And, I mean, she says hi to Captain America very, she clearly wants him, you know.
Well, look at him.
So, and then it cuts away, so you don't know what happened. So, we could make the argument, I think, that Captain America is Peter Quill's grandpa.
Maybe.
His real one, yeah, biological one, maybe.
Well, according to Hulk on She-Hulk, Captain America was not a virgin by the time he died. He actually he actually got laid on that USO tour.
So, yeah. I mean, it makes sense to me.
It all works out.
Yeah.
Captain America is Peter Quill's grandpa.
That's crazy.
Hey, James Gunn confirmed it. It's okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I believe in James Gunn.
Sure. Yeah, me too.
So, final thoughts on Captain America. I feel like this is it's a very underrated movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe and in comic book movies in general. We don't hear a lot of people talk about this one anymore. I do have my problems with it, of course, like I said. And the montage of Cap just going through the war was a bit... I mean, I guess there wasn't really a whole lot they could have done to showcase his war experience. But still, I would have liked a bit more something with a bit more substance, you know what I mean?
Yeah, because it does kind of drag through that time.
Well, no, it just speeds on by through that point.
Well, there's more like, yeah, nothing really happens.
Yeah, we just see him and the Howling Commandos taking out Hydra positions and stuff like that. And again, there's probably not a whole lot they could have done to do something different. But I don't know.
Yeah, I see what you mean, though, yeah.
But overall, this is a fine time to have. If you got a couple of hours, just pop on Captain America and you won't regret it.
Nope.
Now, next we are going to be going into what is possibly my favorite movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Captain America, the Winter Soldier. Here we go.
Let's go.
Captain America, the Winter Soldier was released in 2014. It was the first Captain America movie after his appearance in the Avengers. And technically, Captain America's first appearance since that movie. Loki transforms into Captain America in Thor: The Dark World, but that's not technically Captain America, but it's still Chris Evans, if that makes any sense.
Yes, that makes sense. I follow.
Okay, good. And for this movie, we get a much more politically thrilling adventure than Cap's last movie, which is more of an adventure movie set in World War II.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. This one's a little bit more intense.
Yes.
Well, which is kind of weird to say because there's an actual war going on in the first one, but you know what I mean.
Which goes to show the tone shift in this one.
Yes. Uh-huh.
So, just to recap, Captain America was once Steve Rogers, a weak little 95-pound skinny guy who draws pictures for a living in Brooklyn, New York, and he gets selected to take part in a super soldier program where it turns him into the Chadley Captain America.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Since the end of the war in the first movie, he has lost his best friend, Bucky. He has been frozen in the ice, and he lost contact with his whole world, basically.
Yeah. He got frozen and woke up, 70 years later?
About that. They probably rounded up a bit.
Yeah. So, yeah, that would be quite different than what you're used to.
Side note, in the first Avenger, when Bucky falls off the train, it's a bit different to how it happens in the comics. In the comics, Bucky falls into the ice, and Captain America get frozen during the same incident. They're trying to stop a rocket from destroying somewhere or another. I forgot where, but it explodes with Bucky still attached to it, and Cap falls into the ice.
Oh.
I guess they both fall into the ice, honestly, but Bucky gets picked up by the Soviets, and Cap gets stranded for the next decades.
Yeah. Yeah, that is a little different than what happened in the movie.
The main crux of this movie is that Cap is trying to adapt to this new world. Okay, he's woken up. He fought aliens with the Avengers. but there's still an aspect of him that, well, when he gets back down to earth, so to speak, he's trying to do his job again. He's trying to help the United States, and he's trying to help them really root out terrorism or any other sort of bad guy that we have these days.
Yeah. So, Captain America: The Winter Soldier. Let's see. You want to talk about? Well,
what were you saying?
No, I was just gonna say how it opens, but you can continue.
Yeah, it's based off of a comic line of the same name, Captain America: The Winter Soldier. Duh.
Obviously.
And aside from the name, these two stories don't have much to do with each other.
Okay.
Aside from the name, some of the characters, such as Cap, Falcon, Agent 13, and the Winter Soldier, and of course Nick Fury, but it's a different Nick Fury. It's the white Nick Fury in the comics.
You told me about those Nick Furies, yeah.
Yeah. So let's get into the cast and crew.
Yeah. Who's in this movie?
Well, this was the first Captain America and Marvel movie that was directed by the Russo brothers, Anthony and Joe Russo. They would later go on to do Captain America: Civil War and Avengers: Infinity War and Endgame.
That's quite a lot of successful movies.
Yeah, very. It says a lot where this first one that they did was their least successful, not critically, financially speaking.
Oh, okay.
Because all of those other movies made at least $1 billion.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty good.
Reprising their roles from their previous MCU movies, we have Chris Evans as Steve Rogers, Captain America, the man out of time, trying to figure things out while everyone else finds himself in a similar situation to him later on. I'm sorry, I have some sort of sore on my tongue, so speaking is hard.
Okay, you know what I was thinking? I thought that you were talking weird this whole time. And I was right. I just thought I was going a little crazy. Sorry.
Samuel L. Jackson returns as Nick Fury, the man who has to sort of guide Cap into this new world, but also at the same time, he gets sort of turned around a bit by Cap into seeing that maybe the new ways of doing things aren't really the best.
You're talking about Nick Fury?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. He's an interesting character.
Scarlett Johansson returns as Natasha Romanoff, Black Widow. She's character-wise, we don't really get a whole lot from her this time around, but we get lots of great character moments between her and Cap.
Yeah, I agree. She's not quite as focused on as Captain America, but we do see them interact a lot.
Which they have really good chemistry, which probably is helped by the fact that in real life, Chris Evans and Scarlett Johansson are pretty good friends. This was not even their first movie. This wasn't even their second movie. They had done some horse movie or something back in the 90s, or not 90s, 2000s. So they had been working together for a bit by this point.
Oh, yeah. I didn't know that. But yeah, you could tell. They do work good together. Work well together, I should say.
Yeah, you're the English major.
Yeah.
Sebastian Stan returns as Bucky Barnes, who we find out is the Winter Soldier, the Hydra assassin who's been working behind the shadows to shape world events during the latter half of the 20th century, who is brought out to facilitate the plot twist of the movie. Hydra has taken over S.H.I.E.L.D., and they are trying to install a new world order during today.
Crazy. Poor Captain America. He thought he got rid of those guys.
Yeah, going into this movie, a lot of people probably knew that Bucky was going to be the Winter Soldier, since that's how it was in the comics. There used to be this saying when it came to comic book deaths: nobody stays dead except Jason Todd, Bucky Barnes, and Uncle Ben. Well, Jason Todd came back as the Red Hood to torment Batman. Bucky came back as the Winter Soldier, and Uncle Ben's still dead.
Oh, so that saying has changed to now
nobody stays dead except Uncle Ben and the Waynes.
Yeah, that's true.
Robert Redford plays Alexander Pierce, the sort of the main bad guy, the man behind the man, so to speak, for this movie.
Yep.
Very charismatic and a very, well, I'm not going to say I agree with him, but I get it.
What do you mean?
Well, about wanting to make things safer in your world, wanting to make things, wanted to get rid of all the problems that plague us today.
I mean, yeah.
But
if you just think of it like that.
But on the other hand, those who are willing to give up freedom for security deserve neither, to quote Ben Franklin.
Oh, good old Ben Franklin quote.
Anthony Mackie makes his MCU debut as Sam Wilson, the Falcon. And honestly, I've seen a lot of people give Falcon some flack online, but I've always liked him. He's a very loyal and a very competent friend to Steve, and he's just a very likable guy. I like him.
Yeah, him and Steve, they seem to hit it off as soon as they meet each other, which is in the beginning of the movie.
Yeah, they're doing laps around DC, and Cap laps him like 3 different times.
Yeah. That would make me mad.
Which in the comics, Cap and Falcon are friends too. In fact, when Cap's super soldier serum was taken away from him, it's comics, it's weird. Falcon stepped up and became the new Captain America.
Okay, interesting.
Now, because it's comics, Steve got it back, but still there was 2 Captain Americas.
All right, 2 Captain Americas.
And in the MCU now, Sam Wilson is taking over the role of Captain America in the upcoming Captain America 4.
Oh, okay.
Though he really took the role at the end of Falcon and Winter Soldier, but still.
Yeah, still.
Kobe Smulders plays Maria Hill, returning again from the Avengers. And honestly, there's not much to her character, but I like seeing Kobe Smulders and things.
Yeah, she doesn't have such a big part in this one. But, I mean, she does help him out here and there, so, she does her part.
Frank Grillo plays Brock Rumlow, also known as Crossbones in the comics. Things are a little changed around from page to screen, since there's no Red Skull for him to simp for here. Here he's just the heavy for Hydra, which he does serve a similar role to, as that in the comics, but again, no Red Skull for him to play off of.
Yeah. He's just, kind of a bad guy.
Yeah. Maximiliano Hernandez plays Jasper Sitwell, a Hydra agent hidden in S.H.I.E.L.D. We've seen him here and there in the MCU, but here he gets more of a bigger role.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Emily Van Camp plays Sharon Carter, or Agent 13. We find out in Civil War that she's the niece of Peggy Carter, who is once again played by Haley Atwell in this one.
Okay. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Toby Jones returns in robot form as Dr. Arnim Zola, sporting a more comic-accurate look, but still changing things up a bit.
Yeah, he's like a computer screen, basically. You know how it is.
Yeah. And George St. Pierre, a USC fighter, plays George Batroc, a roguish figure in the comics who is... he doesn't get a lot to do, but he still provides a pretty fun fight to watch Cap do.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. All fights are pretty fun.
So, what did you think of this?
It is quite a shift from the first Captain America, like you said. It's more serious, I guess. But yeah, I think it's all right. I kind of thought it went on for pretty long, but maybe that was just me.
I see what you mean, but it's just not really a problem for me.
Yeah. But yeah. we get to see more characterization, deeper with Captain America, and then we're introduced to all these new characters. Well, if you just go from Captain America to the Winter Soldier, they're new characters, I guess. So you get a deeper look with them. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I feel like this movie takes some of the problems I had with the first Captain America movie and improves on them. We get better relationships between Cap and some of the other side characters. For instance, we get a few pretty good back and forths between Cap and Fury that both highlight their positions and how they see this world.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The way I see it, when Cap came out of the ice, it was almost like he was in a bubble that burst. The world is not the same as what he just left. And with this, it's with the revelation that Hydra was secretly behind S.H.I.E.L.D. the whole time. It's almost like the whole world has their own bubble that bursts, and they're in the same position as Cap, and he has to be the one to help them through it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just like everything got turned upside down for everybody.
And the notion of Nazi scientists being brought into the U.S. government to help in secret government organizations is not as far-fetched as you would think, given that it happened in real life.
Oh.
Yeah, after World War II, the U.S. made deals for immunity so that German scientists could provide some usefulness to us. It was called Operation Paperclip, and it brought countless Nazi scientists and other government officials into ours so that they could help us out in any way.
I'm sure you've probably told me about that before.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah. So it is. Yeah, that is similar.
And it wasn't just with Germany either. We did the same thing with Japanese war criminals as well.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
Specifically, when Dr. Shiro Ishii, the man behind Unit 731, we gave him complete immunity, and he got to go on living his life completely without receiving any justice for the hundreds, if not thousands, of innocent civilians that he tortured and murdered.
Yeah, it doesn't seem fair.
It's not.
Yeah. I'm assuming that no one at the time really knew this was going on.
No. They. Do you mean like civilians?
Yeah.
No, they didn't.
Yeah.
If you're talking like people who, like military generals and stuff, yeah, they knew.
I'm sure they knew. Yeah, I was just meaning like the general public.
Not really.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure if they knew, it wouldn't have gone over as smoothly.
Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, nothing much they could do, I guess.
We also get some interesting character moments between Cap and Falcon and Sam. For one, Sam asks Cap if he, in a roundabout way, if he misses how it used to be. Possibly seeing if he's gonna say that, back then was better, because that's probably something he expects older folks to say.
Yeah.
But Cap it actually says that some things are pretty much better. The lack of polio and other diseases that weren't quite treatable is one thing. Plus the better food and the internet.
Yeah. I like that Steve writes down stuff that people have told him to check out, to things that he has missed that he needs to catch up on.
Which, in different countries, he had different lists, actually.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I can't for the life of me think of stuff right off the bat, but give me a sec and I will. In Korea, there was different things on each list.
Yeah.
Some things had pretty much the same things, but for specific markets, there were different things. Like for Korea, there was soccer player Ji-sung Park and Dance Dance Revolution. Not sure who told Steve to look up those things or why he wrote them down. Maybe he's just very inquisitive.
Yes, very inquisitive about Dance Dance Revolution.
Germany, he was told to look up Oktoberfest and the Berlin Wall, which, given from the first Captain America movie, he said he can't get drunk. Lame. So, I mean, I would have assumed he would have heard of Oktoberfest when he was over there.
Yeah, I guess.
For France, he was told to look up Daft Punk in the 1998 World Cup. That's weird.
I don't know, man.
And for the UK, he was told to look up the Beatles, disco, and Sean Connery. Okay, this makes a little bit more sense.
Yeah. What was America? I don't remember.
Let me see.
I know he wrote down what was the... Oh, what did Sam tell him to write down? It was some record, I thought. But I don't remember what it was. Was it a...
Okay. I Love Lucy, The Moon Landing, Steve Jobs, Apple, Nirvana, Rocky, and Rocky 2, and Trouble Man by Marvin Gaye.
Marvin Gaye. Yep, that's who Sam says to look up.
All right. So, would you like to know some trivia?
Yes, please.
So, Robert Redford wanted to be in this movie because he never gets to play a villain.
Okay.
And this was his first chance to do it.
Oh, okay.
He also did it so that, well, his younger relatives could watch it.
Oh, yeah, fair enough.
You can tell that this movie doesn't really shoot in DC a lot, actually. Would you like to know how?
How? I don't know.
By the taller buildings.
Oh.
Yeah. The Height of Buildings Act in 1910 prevents any building in D.C. from being more than 20 feet taller than the width of the street that building sits on.
I didn't know that, which I've never been to Washington, D.C., so...
The tallest building in D.C. is the Washington Monument.
Well, that makes sense, yep.
Let's see. Chris Evans has cited this movie as his favorite Marvel project that he's been a part of.
Oh, yeah. Pretty cool. Yeah.
Okay, so during the, hold on. So for inspiration, the writers of this movie cited 3 Days of the Condor, another political conspiracy thriller, which starred Robert Redford in it.
I have never heard of that.
Which also, during the 70s and 80s, comic book artists used Robert Redford as inspiration for some of Cap's drawings.
Oh, pretty cool. Finding more trivia?
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Yeah, it was Robert Redford's grandkids who he did this movie for. Also, Anthony Mackie did it so that his son and other black kids can see that there are superheroes who look like them.
Yeah, that's nice.
Okay, this was the 4th time Chris Evans and Scarlett Johansson had appeared together in a movie after The Perfect Score, The Nanny Diaries, and The Avengers. I don't think any of those are horse movies, actually.
It doesn't sound like it, but I've never seen those besides The Avengers, so hey, there could be a horse in them.
Could be a horse, I don't know.
There might be.
Okay. So, we get a look at another couple of characters who will be instrumental in the rest of the MCU. And one of the post-credits scenes, we see the first appearance of Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver, played by Emily Olsen and Aaron Taylor Johnson.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Quicksilver doesn't get much to do in the rest of the MCU, given that the next movie he's in, he dies.
Dang.
But Wanda is very instrumental, given her continuing role throughout the decade and continuing to a couple of years ago from when this is being recorded.
Yeah, I've seen her in quite a few more movies.
But yeah, I just remember that they were also in this.
Yeah.
So there were some other possible castings that could have happened.
Like what?
Well, for the role of Sharon Carter, before Emily Van Camp was cast, Anna Kendrick, Felicity Jones, Imogen Poots, Teresa Palmer, Alison Brie, Emilia Clarke, Mary Elizabeth Winstead, Jessica Brown Finlay, Elizabeth Olsen, and Karen Gillan were considered. Olsen and Gillan would get their own roles in the MCU as Wanda Maximoff and Nebula, respectively.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And Emilia Clarke would appear in the MCU as well, and on the Disney Plus show Secret Invasion. I never watched it. I have not heard good things about it, though.
Oh, I haven't even heard of it, so.
Michael B. Jordan auditioned for a role of Sam Wilson before Anthony Mackie was cast. And, of course, everyone knows that Jordan would later play Killmonger in Black Panther and Wakanda Forever.
Yes, I am aware of that.
Nicholas Coster-Waldau, Kevin Durant, and Josh Holloway also screen tested for the role of Brock Rumlow before Frank Grillo was cast.
Don't know those guys.
Alec Baldwin was approached for the role of Alexander Pierce before Robert Redford was cast, but he turned it down due to his wife's pregnancy at the time.
Yeah, fair enough.
In the original script, Jeremy Renner's Clint Barton, or Hawkeye, had a role. How it was going to go was sometime between Cap escaping from S.H.I.E.L.D. and him meeting up with Natasha at the hospital. He was going to get in a fight with Hawkeye, who was sent by S.H.I.E.L.D. to apprehend him. However, he wasn't actually trying to stop Cap. He was just trying to let Cap know that they were tracking him with a tracker in his suit. So, which is why we see him ditch the suit between those scenes.
Oh. So it would have just been like a really small role.
Yeah, but still could have been fun.
Yeah, it could have, yeah. What else? What other trivia do you have for me?
Let's see. Okay. During his interrogation, Sitwell mentions Stephen Strange as one of the potential threats that Hydra was targeting. Now, let's back up a little bit. So, threats that Hydra was targeting has to do with an algorithm that Arnim Zola wrote while being a robot.
Yeah.
And it was going to be used during Project Insight, which was going to be used to target people who could have been potential threats to S.H.I.E.L.D.
Okay.
And this was part of what was driving Cap away from S.H.I.E.L.D., the whole targeting people who hadn't done anything yet.
Yeah.
So, turns out he was very much right to be opposed to this, since it was Hydra doing it.
Yeah, that's not good.
And, like I said, during this interrogation, Sitwell listed a whole bunch of names. People we know, like Tony, Cap, Natasha, Fury, all that. But he also name drops Stephen Strange.
Oh.
This was 2 years before his own movie, while he was still a doctor.
Very interesting.
Yeah, he wasn't the Sorcerer Supreme at this point, obviously. Mm-hmm. He was just a brilliant neurosurgeon who was very opinionated and a little arrogant. So Hydra didn't like Strange because they thought he was an asshole.
Fair enough, I guess.
Yeah, he was.
Nice.
All right, so I feel like this was a very good direction for this movie to take. Given that it was a Captain America sequel, it could have been just 2 hours of Cap hunting down and punching terrorists in the nuts, and people probably would have been fine with it.
Probably.
But they decided to instead use this movie to drastically alter the direction that the MCU was going, since now they can't use S.H.I.E.L.D. anymore. They had to tear it all down to take out those damn dirty Nazis.
Yeah, so that would definitely throw a wrench in the plans to use S.H.I.E.L.D. in the future.
That plus, it also was very instrumental in Captain America's character arc going forward into Civil War, Infinity War, and Endgame.
Yeah, it definitely changed his whole kind of what you expect from him now, I guess. Which, yeah, set him up for the next movies pretty well.
Not to mention Age of Ultron too, which does build on it a little bit, but not it. That contributes more towards Civil War than the overall picture, I think.
I honestly don't remember Age of Ultron. I don't know if you made me watch that one.
Not yet, no.
Oh, so maybe I haven't seen it then.
Probably not.
Yeah. If you don't make me watch it, I probably don't watch it.
Anyways, so to me, this is my absolute favorite movie in the MCU. Just not much has approached this movie's highs, and in a way, I'm kind of happy about that, but I'm also kind of a bit disappointed because it's like, can we not get back up there again, please?
Yeah, Tyler just wants another good Captain America movie.
Now, that's not to say that the MCU hasn't done it in the realms of TV shows, because they definitely have with Daredevil.
I haven't really watched it. I've only seen a few episodes.
Yeah. But unless you have anything more to say on Captain America: The Winter Soldier.
No, I mean, I think you pretty much said it. It took quite the turn and set up the rest of the Captain America movies for something much different than what we expected, I think.
Yeah, and it's always nice when they can subvert our expectations in a not Last Jedi way.
Yeah, for sure.
So next we have Captain America: Civil War, the big event movie that the MCU was building up to, aside from that thing about the guy with the stones.
Okay.
Yeah, besides that.
Yeah.
So, here we go.
Let's go.
Captain America: Civil War is the third in the original Captain America trilogy. Not so much a trilogy anymore after next year's Captain America 4, New World Order, but so far it's just a trilogy.
Yeah, a trilogy up until then.
The Steve Rogers Captain America trilogy, I should say.
There you go. Okay. That works.
This movie follows the fallout of Captain America: The Winter Soldier and Avengers: Age of Ultron. These two plot lines collide with the aftermath of Bucky regaining some of his memory and the aftermath of Ultron's attack on Sokovia.
Yeah.
The world governments are, well, honestly, they're pretty sick of the Avengers and their collateral damage wherever they go. So they decide to draft a set of accords that will restrict them and in their avenging duties, as it were, to basically only be able to act whenever a special board at the UN designates it so.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, the Avengers do kind of cause a lot of damage, but they are saving the world, so, what would you rather have? Some damage or the world in complete chaos?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, there are two sides to this situation. We have the side that is anti-registration, that being led by Captain America, and the side that is pro-registration, led by Iron Man. Now, these two sides were led by the same people in the comic version of this, but in the comics, it was a little bit different.
What was it in the comics?
Well, in the movie, these accords called the Sokovia Accords were triggered in large part due to a lot of, like I said, collateral damage that was caused by the Avengers inadvertently. But the straw that breaks the camel's back was when Scarlet Witch accidentally causes a suicide bomber, Brock Rumlow, our old buddy from Captain America: The Winter Soldier, to accidentally kill a whole bunch of civilians that was unintentional. In the comics, it was after a group of D-lister superheroes trying to get footage for their reality show where they beat up supervillains, accidentally leads to one of them, a supervillain named Nitro, to blow up near a school because his power is blowing himself up. You could say he's his superpower is being a terrorist.
Okay. Yeah.
And which leads to the deaths of several hundred people, including, well, mostly children.
Yeah. I was going to say, this one sounds a little bit more goofier, but then you mentioned the children deaths.
Yeah, a lot more people die in the comics.
Yeah. That's not very good. That's bad.
This was, again, the straw that breaks the camel's back after a series of incidents featuring superpowered individuals and collateral damage. And the thing that eventually pushes Iron Man over to the side of pro-registration in both adaptations is a mother throwing the death of her son in his face.
Yeah. Pretty powerful.
Yes. So, this movie is directed by the Russo brothers, Joe and Anthony.
Did they do the last one too?
They did Winter Soldier,
Okay.
yes.
That's what I thought you said last time.
And reprising their roles is, basically everyone in the cast. But I'm going to go through them anyways because why in the heck not?
Yeah, maybe we need our memory jogged, you know?
Chris Evans stars as Captain America.
Of course.
This is the third in his character arc throughout these movies.
Yeah, like we said, number 3 in the trilogy.
Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark, Iron Man.
Another, of course. I mean, who else?
Scarlett Johansson as Black Widow. Sebastian Stan as the Winter Soldier. Bucky Barnes. Anthony Mackie as Sam Wilson, Falcon. Don Cheadle as James Rhodes, War Machine. Jeremy Renner as Clint Barton, Hawkeye. Paul Bettany as The Vision. Elizabeth Olsen as Wanda Maximoff, Scarlet Witch. Paul Rudd as Scott Lang, Ant-Man. Emily Van Camp as Sharon Carter. Frank Grillo as Brock Rumlow, Crossbones. William Hurt as Secretary of State this time, Thaddeus Ross. And those are the main players of returners. But we get some new faces in here. One of them being the late Chadwick Boseman makes his MCU debut as T'Challa, the Black Panther.
Oh, yeah, just a little sneak peek to show, you know, what it's going to be like whenever his own movies come around.
Yeah, it's a shame his career in the MCU and in general was cut short. We only got a taste of what we could have gotten, and honestly, I feel like he could have definitely led a much longer story arc than he was supposed to. Well, you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. It is a shame because we could have had. I mean, we don't know, but we could have had some cool stuff.
Well, more important than that, his wife could have had several more years with him, but unfortunately, things were not meant to be.
No. Yeah, unfortunately, that's just how it is.
Also making his MCU debut is Tom Holland as Peter Parker, Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm, yep. Another start to quite a bit of success.
Also making their debuts would be Martin Freeman as Everett Ross, Marissa Tomei as May Parker, and John Connie as King T'Chaka.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Very recognizable characters now, for sure.
So, like I said, this is the third in line for Cap's character development. I say third because Avengers didn't really help too much, and Actually, no. This is fourth, considering Age of Ultron did give us some insight into his state of mind.
Yeah. You can count it as 4. Sorry, my eye was itching a lot.
That's okay.
And I got distracted.
Here we see Cap trying to balance what he knows is right and what he has to do.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he is faced with a really big moral dilemma, but he sticks to what he believes is right.
Indeed. After the death of Peggy, the last remaining link to Cap's life pre-Iceberg is gone. So, what does he do? He knows he has to do the right thing, which in this case is standing against these new accords.
Yep. Which I feel like I'm on Captain America's side.
Well, yeah.
Obviously. I feel like that's the side you're supposed to be on.
I think so, yes. In the comics, it seemed more like the writers were pushing you towards Iron Man's side, but here, I feel like it's a bit more ambiguous, although they still want you to go towards Cap, which I feel like is an improvement over the comics.
Yeah. Never read the comics, sorry.
Well, it's okay. It's a bit... Look, the good thing about the comic event is that there were a whole lot more heroes to get in this thing. Okay, you got guys like Luke Cage, Iron Fist, Daredevil, She-Hulk, Cloak and Dagger, Wolverine, the Fantastic Four. We have so many more characters to play with in the comics, of course. In the movies, we only have who we have.
Yeah. I mean, we got a little bit. There's a little.
Yeah, we have a decent amount of fun with these heroes, and for the one fight we get with all of them, it's pretty fun, but I feel like we could have gotten a bit more.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's a fun scene. It's probably my favorite scene with all of them fighting, but still, it could have been cool if there was a lot more heroes, I guess.
Yeah. Unfortunately, well, even in the comics, there were a whole lot of X-Men in the fray because they decided to stay neutral in this whole event because, well, really, if there's some pretty powerful mutants who could be on either side, which would be a slam dunk for whatever side they're on. So they probably thought it best to just stay out of the whole mess.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Also, in the comics, Black Panther stayed out because of his resources with Wakanda and all that. He would have definitely been a pretty big asset to whoever side he would be on. Mm-hmm. Plus, he probably just saw the whole mess going on with all these heroes and Americans that, well, I don't want any of this.
Yeah, he didn't want to make one team have a huge lead over the other.
But with the movies, Disney at the time did not hold the rights to any characters that were owned by Fox. So no Fantastic Four, no X-Men, none of that. They only barely got Spider-Man just in time to make the movie.
Yeah. I don't really know how those laws work, but they could be kind of crazy sometimes.
Well, character rights and all that.
Yeah, a lot of stuff to consider.
And there were times when they had to write Spider-Man out of the movie because whatever deal that they were trying to make just wasn't going the way they wanted it to.
Oh, yeah.
But they managed to get the rights to use Spider-Man in time, so he's now in the MCU.
Yeah, it worked out. Mm-hmm. Yes.
So, the thing about Cap in this movie, which I feel like this also contributes to him being who I think is the best hero in the MCU, is just his absolute determination and dedication to doing what's right, regardless of whether it's easy or not.
Yeah, you cannot deny that this guy, he's always gonna do what's right. He's like the definition of a good guy, a superhero. Yeah. Yeah.
At points, Cap even admits that there are some good points on the Pro Accord side, and to be fair, there are. Um, you know, I feel like there should be some more. I feel like they should hold the Avengers to a higher standard because, well, look, see. Okay, this is gonna take a weird turn, but just trust me on this.
Okay.
Look at what happens when police officers kill people who are unarmed.
Yeah.
They get absolutely just dragged through the through the mud when it comes to the media, the law, and all that, because we're supposed to hold them to a higher standard. Now multiply that by quite a bit, and we have the Avengers, who are supposed to be saving the world. I feel like when they mess up, it's a lot more severe than if your average police officer or firefighter or soldier messes up.
Yeah, I could definitely see that because, yeah, like you said, these guys are supposed to be, saviors of the entire world.
And think back to the first Avengers movie when they just let the Hulk run free in this highly populated, densely populated too, mind you, area, New York City. The only reason why we liked them is because it turned out that they were right. They couldn't have known that Hulk was actually going to work with them.
Yeah, I guess that's true. It's a little risk.
It was very risky. It just happened to pay off.
Yeah, it did. Mm-hmm.
Now, that being said, I am 100% on Cap's side, though, because, like you said, the safest hands are still their own. I wouldn't trust the UN to designate where they should and shouldn't go. I mean, what do those guys know? They are spending all of their lives in a committee just to decide to not do anything. I feel like something's wrong there.
Yeah, I would not trust the government to do that, but I would trust good old Captain America to save me if I needed it.
At one point in the movie, after they get arrested for trying to rescue Bucky from the German special forces, which it's kind of funny to see Cap fighting Germans again.
Yeah. It's happened twice now, at least.
Cap gets his shield, and his uniform confiscated by the U.S. government, and I think it was Natasha who said that it was technically the U.S.'s property, and I was just thinking, well, technically the U.S. can kiss my ass, so how about that?
Oh boy.
U.S. government, that is.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the arguments for both sides are clearly set up with both the characters of Cap and Iron Man.
Yeah.
Iron Man, Tony Stark is not a soldier, okay? So he is going to react much more negatively to any loss of life, anything of that sort at all, because that's just not the person he trained to be.
Yeah, I guess you do got a point there. Tony Stark is quite different than Steve.
Granted, he has plenty of experience in the field, but the thought of losing people is not something he is really used to.
Yeah, and Steve, he's seen it a lot.
Yeah, Cap has been through it. He's been through the war. He's been through quite a few SHIELD special operations. So it's unfortunate, but to him, you just have to keep going, because if you let it affect you, then nobody gets saved.
Yeah, that's true. That is a good point.
And he says that he wishes he could ignore it, but he can't, because it's not in him to not save someone. If he can, he's going to, and he is going to.
Yeah, that's just who he is. You're right. He can't not save anybody.
Now, the disagreement over the Accords ultimately doesn't really affect any of the friendships in the group too much, because honestly, this is a bigger issue than really any of them can really grapple with. It's just like it's like politics. Some things are just too big to really to really get too personal over. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess I know what you mean.
However, the real conflict and the real drama comes in when it's revealed that Bucky, when he was the Winter Soldier, killed Tony's parents.
Yeah, that's quite a big drama bomb,
And in case that wasn't enough, Cap knew about it back in Winter Soldier when Zola dumped those files on him that revealed that whenever someone was poking around in Hydra stuff, they would send the Winter Soldier after them.
Yeah. So yeah, I can understand why Tony Stark would be a little
pissed off.
Yeah, a little upset.
But at the same time, you can understand why Cap is trying to defend Bucky, because he really wasn't in his right mind.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
If it was up to Bucky, he wouldn't have killed Howard. He knew him back from the war.
Yeah. So we have two people with very opposite views, but you can see where they're coming from.
Yeah, you can. And then you have everyone else just caught up in this whole madness of these two guys. And I feel like the sides that everyone chooses make sense.
Yeah, I think so.
I've seen this meme where it's like, Cap side is when you have a school project and instead of choosing all the smart kids, you just choose your friends.
Uh-huh.
Which is kind of reflective, given that none of these guys, with the exception of Scarlet Witch, are really big powerhouses.
Yeah, not really.
Which, on Cap's side, you have Bucky, of course, Hawkeye, Scarlet Witch, Ant-Man, Scott Lang. I'd say there wasn't really any powerhouses except for Scarlet Witch. I mean, in theory, Scott does have quite a bit of power, but he's not the best at using it. If Steve had someone like the Wasp or Hank Pym on his side, then yeah, it would be a different story.
Yeah, it could have went differently, yeah.
As well as Falcon.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the other hand, you have Tony's side, which I saw was described as when you're in a gym class and you choose all the black guys for your team.
Yeah.
Which he does have quite a bit of power on his side. He has Rhodey, he has the Vision, he has Spider-Man, he has Natasha, he has Black Panther. He's got some pretty heavy-hitting guys on his side.
Oh yeah, he does.
And I wish there was some way for them to use the Netflix heroes in this movie too, because I feel like, well, to be honest, I feel like most of them would be on Cap's side.
Maybe.
Daredevil, he ain't no way he's gonna bow down to someone who's trying to tell him that he can't save people.
Yeah, he's very similar to Cap whenever it comes to being really good at saving people.
Jessica Jones, I feel the same way. Luke Cage also would go with Cap, I think. Iron Fist, I could see going with Tony, but who knows. Punisher, forget it if you think he's going to go with Tony. Forget all of that.
Yeah.
Heck, even in the comics, Cap had Punisher, Daredevil, and not Luke Cage. I think he was on his side, though, and Iron Fist on his side. I'm not sure about Luke Cage or Jessica Jones. I'm sure Luke Cage was on Cap's side, though.
Maybe. I don't know.
If I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but I don't think I am.
Oh, okay. I can't tell you, so.
It's... I don't know. I have some things to say about this movie, as you can tell.
Oh yeah, I can tell.
But what did you think of it?
Yeah, it's all right. I do think it's interesting seeing the heroes fight amongst each other. That's not really seen a lot. Usually they're just off, chasing the bad guy, classic. But here, all the conflict is within their own group, and it's very like you're making a lot of moral decisions along the way. So it really gets you thinking. It's a thinker.
Yeah, and I feel like this. I said that I didn't like how there were fewer superheroes in this as opposed to the comics, but I feel like this also streamlines the comic book story quite a bit because, well, you got to fit this into a 2.5 hour long movie, so you got to make some cuts where you can.
Yeah, because I think 2.5 hours is pretty long. So imagine it with all the other characters.
Meanwhile, I would have sat through a 4 hour long Civil War.
I know you would have, yeah. If it was more my type of movie, then yes. But,
Okay, would you like to know some trivia about this movie?
Yes, I would love to.
2 different cast members got to speak in their native language in this movie, which wasn't English.
What is, who?
Well, Sebastian Stan got to speak his native Romanian in the scene that was set in Bucharest.
Oh, yeah. Pretty cool.
And Daniel Bruhl got to speak his native German when Zemo was staying in an Airbnb in Berlin.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I remember that scene.
Okay, so Chadwick Boseman originally auditioned to play Drax in Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh.
That would have been very different.
That would have been very different.
Just imagine it. Chadwick Boseman as Drax and Dave Bautista as Black Panther. Okay, no, they probably wouldn't do that.
No, they wouldn't.
That would have been a bit silly.
Yeah.
But just imagine, though.
It still is different because Chadwick Boseman isn't quite as, big. So he would definitely have to play Drax, I think, in a different way.
He'd be a more leaner Drax.
Yeah.
But as we saw in movies like 42, he could still bring some comedic chops to it.
Oh, yeah. He's a great actor, so.
Well, 42 wasn't the funniest movie, but you know what I mean. It's a lot more lighthearted than his role as T'Challa.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah. He could do it, yeah.
Okay. Apparently, the original writer of the Civil War comics, Mark Millar, wasn't a big fan of this movie.
Oh, why?
He thought the movie was too dark.
Okay.
I don't see it.
Yeah, I mean, that's a little dark, but I don't know.
So, before this movie came out, people were putting it against another superhero movie where a blue-suited symbol of America was fighting a rich billionaire orphan, Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice.
Oh, yep. Mm-hmm.
At one point, these 2 movies were supposed to come out on the same weekend, but Warner Brothers switched the premiere of Batman v Superman to come out in March, which symbolically does make more sense given that it came out on Good Friday, and with all the Jesus imagery in Zack Snyder's movies, it makes a lot of sense.
Oh, yeah, fair enough.
And a lot of the reviews of Civil War did a lot of needless DC bashing because at the time, DC wasn't doing very hot with their movies, honestly.
Yeah, I remember not liking Batman v Superman. Sorry.
I don't remember asking your opinion.
Yeah. Anyways, continue.
We're gonna be covering those later on this year too, hopefully, along with the rest of Zack Snyder's filmography.
Yay!
He's made 8 or 9 movies. It won't be as long as some other things. It's just the movies will be long.
Yay! So happy.
Don't sound so excited.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I feel like this decision was to move up the premiere date of Batman v Superman worked for that movie's benefit because, well, I feel like it would have definitely bombed if it came out the same weekend as Civil War.
Yeah, I agree. There would probably be a whole bunch more people going to see Civil War.
Then you got nerds like me who are going to go see both.
Yeah, that's true.
Because even with it coming out a few months before Civil War, it still couldn't break $1 billion, and it got not the best critical reception.
Yeah.
Shame. Okay. Going down this page. Going down there.
Yep.
For future and past reference, when I go through trivia, I'm usually on TV tropes. Sometimes I know things because I go down a lot of rabbit holes about the movies we cover, but also I like to just read off a list if possible.
Yeah, that's fair. You can always do your research beforehand, you know.
Yes, but again, we're watching the movie.
All right. It's fine. Take your time.
I know it is. Okay, so the mother who confronts Tony at MIT about her son's dying in Sokovia, her actress Alfre Woodard had actually been in the MCU previously, but as a different character.
And who was that?
Nothing you would have seen. She appeared on Netflix's Luke Cage as a character named Black Mariah.
Oh, yeah, I did not watch that show.
Not a lot of people did, given how it was canceled.
Oh, dang. Sorry.
But then again, every Netflix Marvel show was canceled.
Yeah, sorry. Probably because I didn't watch it. It's all my fault.
Yeah, everyone blame Molly for Luke Cage being canceled.
No, I'm sorry. Oh, no.
I forgive you.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you so much.
But the rest of the internet may not.
I'll take my chances.
Okay, so there is some quite a bit of what could have been with this movie. Bryan Cranston was considered to replace William Hurt as General Ross had Hurt chose to decline the role.
Okay.
He had previously played the role in The Incredible Hulk, which was back in 2008, 8 years before this movie.
Yeah, that could be interesting.
Yeah, especially since, excluding the Hulk, which, duh. But even still, he had his actor change between movies. Hurt is really the only character who has appeared in the movies again from that movie. Although Tim Roth's Abomination has appeared again in Shang-Chi and on She-Hulk. But in terms of more major supporting roles, Ross is the only one.
Okay.
However, the role had to be recast anyways after William Hurt died in 2022, but they replaced him with Harrison Ford, who is going to be playing the role in Captain America 4.
Okay. Interesting.
Cranston could have been an interesting choice for recasting, but
Yeah, he could have been.
Okay, so Spider-Man was, like I said, pretty much removed from one script of this movie because Sony didn't want to play ball. It was down to the wire, like a week before production was supposed to take place, where a deal was finally struck allowing Spider-Man to be used in this movie.
That's cutting it pretty close, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they lucked out.
Originally, Sony had a contingency plan for the Amazing Spider-Man series to be integrated in these movies, where Andrew Garfield would have appeared in this movie, while Chris Evans would have shown up as Captain America in Sinister Six or Amazing Spider-Man 3, which would have merged these two continuities together. However, after Tom Holland showing up in this movie and Andrew Garfield showing up as his own Spider-Man in No Way Home, yeah, these are definitely separate continuities.
Yeah, okay. I don't really know what that means, but that's okay.
Like separate canons.
All right.
Think of it like this.
I'm not a nerd, man.
It's not nerd stuff. Just look, I will put it in terms you will understand, okay?
Fine.
So take the Universal Frankenstein movies.
Sure.
And then you have the Hammer Frankenstein movies.
Yep.
2 separate storylines,
okay,
but they're covering the same characters.
Mm-hmm.
That's how that works.
So you're saying in the Spider-Man movies, he did not fight With Captain America?
Andrew Garfield did not. No.
Oh, and well, no, not Andrew Garfield. Tom Holland.
No, those ones are connected to the MCU.
Okay, so I just misunderstood you.
Yes.
All right.
Pregnancy brain.
Yeah, I know. I haven't been able to think straight in 9 months. Don't you look at me like that.
It's too easy. I'm not going to do it.
Yeah. Keep your thoughts to yourself if they're hurtful.
Charlie Cox said he would have jumped at the chance to be in this movie because he didn't realize that Daredevil was part of the original Civil War story. However, it was too late to actually include him, despite his contract having a clause allowing Matt to make film appearances, which was never actually used until his cameo in No Way Home.
Oh, yeah, that's kind of unfortunate.
They should have used him. Come on.
Yeah.
Put Daredevil in the movies.
Yeah, he deserves to be in a movie.
I've heard this from Steve Burns from Blue's Clues. Daredevil needs another movie.
Yeah, I'm there to witness it.
He told me that himself.
Yeah, he did. That's true.
Steve wants another Steve wants another Daredevil movie. Yeah, give him another Blue's Clues movie too. Why not? Just do it.
Yeah, that would be rad.
There was always meant to be a third party hero who wouldn't have been aligned with Captain America or Iron Man, but it wasn't necessarily going to be Black Panther at first, and a number of potential candidates were suggested before Kevin Feige, basically the guy behind the MCU, decided that Black Panther makes the most sense.
Okay, interesting. Yeah.
Hope Van Dyne was supposed to show up as the Wasp at some point, but things were getting a bit too crazy. They decided to just leave her out, which was the second time they cut the Wasp out of these movies. She was supposed to be in the original Avengers movie, but Joss Whedon had to cut her out because there was too many characters.
Yeah.
Which, in the comics, the Wasp, it was one of the founding members of the Avengers.
Oh, I did not know that.
Her and the original Ant-Man, Hank Pym.
All right.
But that Wasp was Pym's wife, Janet Van Dyne.
Okay.
Michelle Pfeiffer in the Ant-Man movies.
Yeah. All right.
At one point, Mark Ruffalo was going to appear as the Hulk, but after Hulk's fate in Age of Ultron, where he just flew off in a Quinjet, they decided to cut that out. Which makes sense, given that Hulk would 100% not be on the pro-Accord side.
Yeah, fair enough.
This guy has spent a good amount of years running from the government because they wanted to capture him and experiment on him because of his Hulkness.
Yeah, so it's pretty clear what side he would be on.
Okay.
You about to wrap it up?
Maybe. I don't know. Stall for me, please.
Okay. Well, I'm just saying I got a unborn child resting on my bladder. But anyways.
Okay. So on the off chance that Robert Downey Jr. refused to return for this movie, if they weren't willing to pay his salary, which at that point was at least $50 million.
It's quite a salary, yeah.
Yeah. They had an alternate storyline pitched for Captain America 3, which involved the Mad Bomb, which would have been another way to make Cap's allies turn against him. They would have all just been infected with a hate plague of some sorts to make them turn against him.
Okay.
But I'm glad they went with that Robert Downey Jr. was willing to work with them.
Yeah. Turned out good.
Okay, so what are your final thoughts on Civil War?
It is quite an interesting movie. It's quite different than I think all the movies before it in the, Marvel universe. So it's a pretty interesting movie. Yeah,
I agree. How would you rate the Captain America trilogy? Like, how would you rank them from top to bottom?
Oh. Top, I would say. Oh, let's go bottom to top. On the bottom, I think I would put Civil War, just because I thought it was a little long. I know, I'm terrible. Well, also, in my defense, these movies aren't really my type of movies that I would sit down and watch by myself. So, cut me some slack. And so I would go Civil War at the bottom, and then they're a little bit closer, but I think I would put Captain America, the first one, in the middle, and then the Winter Soldier on top.
I'd see these bottom two. It's interchangeable for me, because sometimes I like Civil War more. Sometimes I like First Avenger more. Today it's more of a First Avenger at the bottom, then Civil War, and then Winter Soldier at the top kind of day.
Okay, I get it.
Like those bottom two, they could go either way, but Winter Soldier is always at the top for me.
Nice, very nice.
So that will do it for the MCU Captain America trilogy. Overall, probably one of the best superhero trilogies out there.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
Yeah, it definitely ranks up there with the Dark Knight trilogy and the Guardians of the Galaxy trilogy in terms of quality.
Yeah, I'm more of a Guardians of the Galaxy trilogy gal myself, but that's okay.
What are we going to do next time? God only knows.
Yeah, we'll figure that out later.
Yeah, maybe. But as for now, we'll catch you next time.
See you next time.